Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 15 of Season 1 2024 of Endurance for Amateurs into Hockenheim, Germany at the Hockenheim Ring. Tonight is brought to you by Ninja Botanicals and AlienAwards.net, and coming up is a 90-minute race with GTD and GTP class cars. Last week saw Jay Smart become the first driver to win 3 in a row in the GTP class this season, despite disaster just 15 minutes into this race. Nick Paletti finished second, 11 seconds back, and just 2 seconds back from him to Paul Skip in third. More shakeups happened in the GTP standings, with Paul Skip still holding the lead by a single point, but to Nick Paletti coming into this week, with Nick Terrell falling 5 points back due to some technical issues last week. GTDA saw the long 12-race streak by Ken Huber broken by former champion Tyler Langenberg, who put up a tough fight against Sheldon Rosenbaum, who earned his first pole position and 4th podium already, despite debuting round 9 of the season. Ken Huber finished third, continuing an unbroken podium streak so far. Huber leads the overall standings by 132 points and 135 over next GTDA driver Tyler Langenberg. Tight battles still exist a little further back, with Travis Bell and Jeff McDonald separated by 1 point for 6th, and Christopher Craig and Adrian Vahil separated by 3 for 8th. GTDB was won again by the current man to beat in the class, Jack Lucas, with Nathan Westland back on the podium after a couple missed races, and a 3rd place, notching 11 podiums on the season for James Foreman. James Foreman extends the lead slightly to 30 over Jesse Coffey, with Jack Lucas now just 10 points back from Coffey. More battles close throughout the field still happening, including 6 points separating Kevin Bergquist and Zach Nurnberger for 5th. This is an ultra-wide racetrack that we're coming here to tonight, but if the practice is anything to go by, it looks extremely difficult, especially for the GTP drivers. I saw lots of incidents from these guys in really everywhere. I mean, there's a lot of places to make mistakes on this track, and mistakes were even happening for both GTD and GTP class cars in the Parabolica, in Sox Curve, in Mercedes, in the Spitzkara. Everywhere has been a problem for some of these drivers, so I'm interested to see how this qualifying session goes and if they've been able to work out those kinks that they had in practice. But it did seem like it was giving the drivers some difficulty. Jay Smart looking to continue a strong race-winning streak that he's got right now. And with only 3 sectors to this track, a purple sector like Paul Skip has currently right now is a big deal. That is very important to the standings. So purple sector 2 for him. Don't know how many. Yeah, it looks like most of the GTPs have put in a sector 2 at this point. Nick Terrell's still not out of the pit, so we will see his times a little bit later. Paul Skip may be the first time on the board here for the GTPs, and as he comes across 2 purple sectors, we'll put him at a 126.6. And we'll see how some of the other drivers stack up to that. Ken Huber was the fastest driver in practice for the GT3s. Right now, he's swinging around the final corner. Track limits are something to be aware of, but they're not as dangerous as some of the other tracks we've gone to recently. Ken Huber, a very strong time to start out with 139, and he gets nearly pipped by Langenberg. Langenberg had a purple sector of his own, but just a second. And then Jeff McDonald, and then Jack Lucas into first. Jack Lucas, the B-class driver, into first overall now. Jay Smart just put on a time that put him to the top by 0.3 over Paul Skip. Nicholas Paletti very close to Skip, but the things are still happening out here. Just the first lap in so far. Some drivers on the season, we've seen their fast lap really just be their first. Others have been able to speed up through the qualifying session as they slowly ramp it up and get the tires into a window that they like. Right now, Skip looking to improve on his previous lap. He's 0.3 down coming into this one with another purple in that second sector, so that seems to be where he's strongest, which is the toughest part of this track. It's not maybe necessarily the part where you gain the most time, but it is the hardest part and where the drivers will find the most difficulty. Swings around the final curve. Paul Skip, what is this lap going to be? 2 greens and a purple. Where does this put him in the overall standings? He's 0.3 back. He's still in second place, but just 0.07 back this time. A lot of time still to come in. Nathan Westland's got a couple greens. He's coming now into Sox Curve. Made his way through some of the difficult parts of the track. From here out, it's mostly just 90 degrees. It's just worrying about track limits in this exterior part of the track. Extra wide. Should be plenty easy for lapping traffic to make their way through. Jay Smart has a purple first sector, and he's about to come across the line, but he has a yellow second sector. What is this third sector going to look like? 2 purples. Surely he's going to extend his gap, unless that... Yes, he does. 3/10 again. Now the gap, and he goes wide there, so this lap is not going to count, and he's already backing off. Travis Rowe, an improvement up to second. Jack Lucas still in that first place spot. Has not improved his time, but hasn't needed to. But Travis Rowe moves up to second there, which is a strong position for him. But Jack Lucas looks like he just crossed. Yeah, his first lap was enough. Aaron Claybaugh does make an improvement. He's 9/10 back. He is ahead of Sheldon Rosenbaum now. Again, Rosenbaum on the podium last week, and needs to find some pace here tonight for this race to replicate that. Zach Nurnberger just a 10th back from him there in 12th. Still no time from Christopher Craig. And still no time for Paul Boyle, who's on track, and he's about to put one in. And we're also waiting for Nick Terrell as well. Nick Terrell is out on track, so times are coming in. Paul Skip, another time, a slight improvement, but still not enough to catch up to Jay Smart. Just a little bit of breathing room to Paletti. Is that too wide for Boyle to make that illegal lap? Comes across, and it is a legal lap. Fourth place, gets ahead of John Kelly. 1.3 seconds back from that blazing time from Jay Smart so far. Nick Terrell we can see out here, and not on the qualifying counter down there. See if this is a lap. Maybe this is his out lap here. Very curious to see where that looked close to being wide there, if not actually wide. A lot of yellow sectors down below. Ken Huber, Travis Rowe, two guys, and Jay Smart as well. Three guys, all fighting for that pole position. And Jay Smart currently in first. It doesn't look like any guy's going to improve their time. Ken Huber actually does slightly, not enough to improve his position. Actually tied Travis Rowe, but put his time in second. So he comes in third here. So now are we going to see a lap? Oh, and Nick Terrell losing control through the first corner in Nord Curve, and that is going to ruin that lap. He has... Oh, I don't know. I actually don't think he has the time. Let's see. For him to get this out lap in, he's got to put in a hot lap and then a really fast qualifying lap, I think, to get this legal. I'm not sure if he'll be able to cross the line in time. We'll keep an eye on it. Christopher Craig looking to put in his first time, is not on the board yet. See him here in the Porsche. Porsche being used by Travis Rowe up there in second, James Foreman there in eighth, and Christopher Craig. So just three guys running it here tonight. Swinging around the final corner. What's this first time going to be? It looks like he's hitting on the brakes before he even gets to that. So not a valid lap for him. Won't see him in qualifying, I don't think. Yeah, it looks like he's... So Nick Terrell's the only guy that we may see finally put a lap on the board, but it is going to be really close. Lap times being 1:26. You know, he needs to cross the finish line with 8. I think it's too late. We're already at 8:20. He's obviously not going to get across the finish line in 10 seconds. He's still got a number of corners to navigate through. So an untimely wreck, I think, is going to make Nick Terrell starting from the back. Now, luckily, just 6 cars, so it could be worse as far as a situation. But, yeah, he's not going to have time to finish this qualifying lap, regardless of what it is. Sheldon Rosenbaum, an improvement on time, but not in position. 11th place behind Aaron Claybaugh still there. Wow, what a pole position for Jack Lucas here tonight. That would be an incredible feat. I mean, I know that we've had a couple GTDB drivers with overall wins. That's happened before. I'm struggling to remember if there's ever been a GTDB pole position. And if there has, hopefully somebody reminds me. But interesting development. And Travis Rowe again as well. Rowe is a driver who's up at the top of the standings. He's currently 4th. And, of course, 174 off of Ken Huber, but still fighting with the drivers around him. So this could be another good opportunity to bring home a lot of points. Where last race, Travis Rowe scoring 36 points. Didn't have any safety points, so lost a little bit to some of his rivals. May be able to make up some here tonight. And 20 seconds remain. There will be just a few seconds of grace period afterwards, but I still don't think there's enough time. So a shame to not be able to see a time here for Nick Terrell, and would be very curious to see how it goes. But Jay Smart looking like he's going to get another pole position here on the season, and that's pole position number 6. He and Paul Skip were tied at 5 coming into this week, and yeah, the session ending there. So unfortunate for Nick Terrell. We'll see how he does in the race here tonight with this warm-up period. We'll be right back with you in just a few minutes. All right, we are back, and here is our official qualifying order. Jay Smart on pole for the 6th time this season, with Paul Skip behind him 3/10 back, and then another few hundredths to Nick Paletti. Paul Boyle in 4th, John Kelly in 5th, and Nick Terrell with no time starting in back in 6th place. For the GT3s, Jack Lucas representing the B class in the overall pole position in 1st with 138.8. And Travis Rowe just a couple tenths behind him as the GTDA pole position leader. And that is Travis Rowe's first pole position on the season as well. Ken Huber and Jeff McDonald round out the top 4. Following them, we have Tyler Langenberg, Nathan Westland, Jesse Coffey, James Foreman, Josh Doty, Aaron Claybaugh, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Zach Nurnberger, and Christopher Craig rounding out the field. I think we have everybody starting here. The no passing zone is going to be through turn 2. So it is going to be a long wait because turn 2 is quite a bit down the racetrack. So turn 1 being Nord Curve. It's the kink in the straight. And then the Einfahrt Parabolica being the turn which they are able to pass after. So moves may be made through Parabolica into Spitzkehre, but we are going to see. So Jay Smart going to lead the field again. Not an unfamiliar sight for him, sitting up there in 1st, and is on a really strong run of race pace as well. Had some pole positions. He wasn't able to convert to wins in the early part of the season. He is in his prime right now so far, and he's the guy to beat. It's not what guys behind him want to see, as they're trying to get as many points as possible on each other. Jay Smart still technically in the hunt, but he's missed a lot of races, so he has a lot less leeway in these results, but he's doing himself some favors here late. Jay Smart's going to be waiting for the green. The 6-car field. John Kelly's not taking the start here. They're going to get the green. Jay Smart's got the green. Coming down into turn 1. No passing through this section. Still no passing into turn 2 as they rumble over those curbs. Difficult section. A lot of people losing control. We saw Nick Terrell lose control there in quals. In the pits, John Kelly maybe starting out of the pits. Jay Smart through turn 2. No pressure from behind, but passing is now allowed. Through Parabolica, and nobody is close. Right now, the gap is 1.2 seconds and growing to Paul Skip behind. A move. Tyler Langenberg losing spots. What has happened? He's sideways. He's in the wall. He's the winner from last week. It is looking unlikely to be repeated. What happened to Tyler Langenberg? This is in Parabolica. Oh, he's already losing control there. Let's see if maybe this gives us any sort of clue. Like I said, I saw drivers losing control right here at the start of Parabolica in practice. It happened to Langenberg on lap 1. Luckily, no other drivers collected, but an unfortunate situation as he is now going to have a huge mountain to climb to even just get back a few positions in this race. He surely will if he stays clean. I don't think he got any major damage, but a lot of lost time, and of course, losing the entire field 8 positions down. Nick Terrell's up a couple spots. 1 spot from John Kelly not taking the start on track. Also passed Paul Boyle. You see right here, this is the move that he made. Paul Boyle goes wide in Spitzkehre, and Nick Terrell says, "Thank you very much. I'll take that spot." So not all doom and gloom after a unfortunate qualifying session. Up to 4th already, just 3.5 seconds back. And a comfortable lead for Jay Smart at the front, all things considered. Jack Lucas, a little bit closer for him. Travis Rowe, 5/6 tenths back. No change for any position in the field except for Tyler Langenberg's incident. Everybody's staying pretty consistent here. Does seem like qualifying sorted them appropriately. But we'll see how that race pace comes. A little bit of a defensive line for Jack Lucas. Kind of hogs the center of the track. He seemed to have enough gap from Travis Rowe to not have to do that defending. But maybe just getting a little bit defensive early on in the race, trying to see what Travis Rowe might try to do here at the start. Didn't seem to send anything at that point. Through Parabolica, trying to get a little bit of draft. It's not going to do much for these cars. But into Spitzkehre, and this is going to be the primary passing opportunity, especially when drivers make a mistake. A little bit slow for Lucas. Josh Doty gets ahead of James Foreman, and it looks like it's continuing back there. Sheldon Rosenbaum has had an incident. He's falling back. He's down to 12th. Foreman on the outside, able to keep it ahead of Aaron Claybaugh. Claybaugh pressuring him there. Let's see what that move for Josh Doty passing James Foreman was. This was coming into Spitzkehre. There's John Kelly making his way through the field. Nice, classic, textbook inside maneuver for Doty. And unfortunately, Foreman unable to really take that line as we saw the car of John Kelly in the way. So smart move. Oh, and Paul skips to first. Jay Smart is way off track. He's hitting the wall. He's got broken steering. What has happened to his car? He can barely control it. He's going to have to pull off. He's going to tow. Jay Smart, what has this crash been? It's already happened here. See if this makes it clear at all. This is when Paul Skip gets his way around. Oh, and just a huge through Nord curve, loss of control for Smart into the wall. Big crash, major damage. He's towing, jump into the pits. We hopefully will see him again, but a similar situation to what he had last week. And this is what happened to Sheldon Rosenbaum. We see that move just ahead of Doty passing Foreman, and this was right behind. I think he just lights up the tires a little bit behind Aaron Claybaugh, takes an inside line. The bump maybe unsettles the car a bit. But a lot of incidents early in this race for what's generally been a pretty clean series. But Paul Skip out in front again, so was looking, of course, last week was looking pretty rough for him. Was still able to finish on the podium here tonight, qualifying second, not that far off of Jay Smart's time, and now moving up here into first. Last week, Jay Smart was able to survive because his first incident did happen just within that range of still being on the pit strategy. This time, not so much, and I think we're not seeing Jay Smart back in this race. So really unfortunate for the guy who came into the race 3 wins in a row. Will not get 4 here tonight. But Paul Skip's going to look to continue to expand on his championship lead. The safety points are becoming extra crucial. The points are, the positions are not separated by much points, and actually the drivers are gaining on each other more and more with the safety points than anything else. That's what Nick Terrell lost a lot of last week, as he wasn't able to finish within 1 lap of the leader because of the technical issues he had. So even if he kept it clean, he was not going to be able to qualify for those safety points. Jack Lucas sets the fastest lap of the race with Travis Rowe hunting him down. Just 500ths between the two. It doesn't really look like Lucas has set the fastest lap of the race given the gap that he's got to Rowe behind, but both these guys really on it right now. And not quite, I would say, pulling away from Ken Huber, but a bit of a gap forming from these top two to third on back. Aaron Claybaugh chasing down James Foreman still. We saw him almost make that move last lap or 2 laps ago, excuse me. Is he going to make the move here on the inside? James Foreman's already been passed on the inside here. Is he going to defend it from experience? Claybaugh's close enough. He's trying it. He's going down the inside. Oh, didn't seem confident enough on the brakes. Seemed with that overspeed he was going to be able to do it. And a bit of wobble for Josh Doty there. He's going to lose at least to James Foreman. May lose. He's getting some speed. He's getting back up to speed. Will he lose to Aaron Claybaugh? Claybaugh's swinging around the outside. He has to keep it outside, and it's going to have the inside of this turn. I think he's going to have the position. Yeah, Josh Doty, nothing he could do there. But just the smallest of mistakes there in Spitzkara, and it has already affected him as they make their way through Mercedes. Mercedes, one of the toughest parts of the track, and battling can happen, but generally the inside guy is going to be the one who wins. A little wide for Claybaugh coming into Sox curve. Able to survive that. Not getting it off track, but just unsettling the car a little bit. It's the kind of scary moment we've seen have happened to a couple of drivers already so far tonight. Coming down the main straight. The main straight does get broken up by this corner, which, depending on how you take that last turn, you might be happy or unhappy about it. Because that corner right there, Nord curve, both Nord curve and Sud curve, very important to trying to make moves happen. But being able to carry as much speed through that kink is as important as any other corner on this track. Swinging through Parabolica, Travis Rowe a little bit closer than he was last lap. But not enough to do a lot at this point. I don't think he's going to be able to try a move down the inside. A lot of movers throughout the field. A couple guys up 2 spots. And, of course, 1 spot from Tyler Lingenberg's incident because he qualified all the way up in 5th. So Claybaugh, Nürnberger, Christopher Craig really just up 1 spot other than that incident there. So not a lot of movement. Oh, and Claybaugh's getting a move done on James Foreman here. As I say that, he's getting 2 actually done on track here. The gap was 3/10. There must have been a mistake in the hairpin, but Foreman's trying to cling on. He's going to have the outside here. Is the outside going to win? He will. Foreman was not close enough to make that a battle on the inside. Let's see how that move was done. Oh, and he can't go. The mistake was made up at that hairpin for sure. Play ball, nice move to get that finished. Rowe close again to the front, close as he's ever been. It was just sub 2/10 for one moment there through the final section of this racetrack. Not really any passing opportunities until you get to this open straight. So it kind of doesn't matter how fast you are unless you're going to be ultra bold. But it does bring him back into Ken Huber a little bit as he has to back off through that section. Little bit wide for everybody, but that is on the racing surface. Drivers can do that. But if you go a little bit more than that, you're going to earn yourself a slowdown. Don't think we've seen any drivers have to serve that yet, but as the tires go, it's going to be more difficult to maintain that line. Row all over the back, but nothing to do here. It looks like actually a little bit of a disadvantage. Jack Lucas taking a stronger line through that section. A couple different cars as well. You got the Porsche chasing down the Mercedes. Two very different formatted cars. And what car is going to be the benefit here today? They're so close, nose to tail. I mean, 3/10 is not much when you get down to those kind of speeds. And close a little bit further back, too, with Nürnberger, Doty, Foreman, all these guys in Clayball kind of leading that group of four. But really, these three all really close right now. Again, coming through a sector here, the Mercedes, where unless you're already side by side, normally don't see moves sent into there. Can be done. The traffic is just starting to get through now, though. Paul Skip making his way past some of the GT3s in the back and might make things a little bit interesting. Nürnberger's got a bit of a run on Doty. He's got it down to sub a quarter second. Nothing he can do into that braking zone. A lot of bravery there heading through Mobile 1 curve. Very difficult corner. And one where I saw a lot of incidents during that practice session. Still, again, like I said, nowhere to make a pass here. He's close. He's trying to keep it close to maybe make something happen on the straight. This is all a track of setups. You have to set up the pass a few corners in advance, and you have the ability to do so. These wide track surfaces allow a lot of varying lines, getting some clean air as he heads into the kink. You don't want to go wide too many times there and earn some slowdowns. Or at least incident points at the very least. Nicholas Paletti is very close to Paul Skip there. You can see him. He's just on the side of Zach Nürnberger's car, making his way past. And he's trying to catch up to Paul Skip. It's sub 1 second despite all this traffic. It's a much larger gap back to Nick Terrell, who again had to start from the last, move his way up now past those two guys of Paul Boyle and John Kelly, and then Jay Smart out of this race. Doty's the one pressuring Foreman. He's going to the inside. He's already made this move once before. Can't do it this time. Able to slot back in, luckily. Looked like almost a hint of a lockup for Nürnberger as he didn't expect that car to swing back in. Into the Mercedes section, and it looks like Foreman's going to be a little bit safe for the next few corners. Travis Rowe, again, very close, but not in the passing zones where he needs to be, but just trying to maybe force a mistake for Jack Lucas in front. We've seen Lucas under a lot of pressure over these last few races, running really high in the overall standings. He's done it with absolute steel nerves, has not been phased for the most part. Did see a couple moments in that Imola race late where there were some things that seemed to shake him a little bit, but it's been a really tough driver to race so far this last part of the season, especially here, these last few races, of course. He's one of the hottest guys in the entire GT3 field, not just GTDB, but again, leading the overall field here in GT3s. And that's Paul Skip trying to make as much time as possible. He's struggling to really pull away from Paletti. This traffic's keeping him a little bit close. Paul Boyle's catching up to Nick Terrell's. Terrell's lost another 3 seconds to Nicholas Paletti. So I don't know if there's been any incident there, if that's just unfortunate traffic. Nürnberger through Parabolica, losing time but close to Josh Doty. Is starting to catch back up a little bit from that draft now. Don't think anything's going to be sent here into the braking zone. We'll take an eye on it, though. He just half thought about it, keeping half a car in that open area. Really close through that acceleration zone. Still, nothing happening. It's looking difficult to pass, but difficult to pull away as well. The driver's staying close. It's not stratifying them necessarily, but making it really difficult to make a move. Again, Doty, we've already seen make a move on track, and without really a mistake from James Foreman, just doing it on pace, but has to try to do it again. And that now, of course, Foreman keen to his moves. A little bit more willing to defend that, I think. Still close at the front. Looked a little bit faster for Rowe there. Maybe not, actually, as he loses some time to Lucas. Lucas really running strong out here up front. That's Nick Terrell back there catching up. And Paul Boyle, again, not that far back in the background. Nick Terrell now to 10 seconds back from Paletti. Paul Boyle's falling back a little bit from Nick Terrell, but he's still within hunting range. New livery there for Paul Boyle as well. And that's because all drivers in this race for the GTPs, including Jay Smart, who we don't have anymore, running the Porsche. So convergent thinking that we've had so far. Paul Boyle makes his way by as we have an incident for John Kelly through Nord Curve. And very similar to what we saw. Very similar to what we saw from Nick Terrell's qualifying effort. Big damage, and actually from Jay Smart early in this race as well. Big damage to that car. He's probably going to be immediately coming in to get that repaired. Have to wonder if Travis Rowe is frustrated at all, or if this is kind of going to plan. He does look like he's trying to pressure Jack Lucas a little bit. Of course, Travis Rowe still in the seat for the GTD-A win, regardless if he gets the overall victory or not. But he has to worry about Ken Huber behind. Not even necessarily passing him on track, but the magic pit stops that we've seen this season from Ken Huber, where he's a full 2-4 seconds faster than everybody else, or 2-4 seconds less time spent in those pit stops. And of course, 0.6, 0.5 is not a healthy gap if he's able to do something like that again. So Rowe wants to get by Jack Lucas, wants to see if maybe he can step on down the road, but not trying to risk too much this early on. Only 15 minutes into this race now. And that looked, again, that's about as wide as you can take it. That's the limit to where if you go too much further, you do start to lose control of the car and possibly get some slowdowns. Ooh, that was a good exit. That was a good exit for Travis Rowe. It's 1/10. He's got the acceleration. Jack Lucas is going to fall back to second. They are side by side. You can hear him on the side. Jack Lucas on the inside. What's he going to do? Is he going to be able to defend it? He's going to be hung out to dry around that little curve, but he's going to have the braking advantage here into this corner. Ken Huber doesn't know who to follow. Jack Lucas braking on the inside. On the outside, Travis Rowe, who's got it. Ken Huber, baby, he's got it. It's about to be 3 wide. He pulls out behind Jack Lucas. Lucas with the nose ahead. Travis Rowe still second. Is he going to have to slot back in? He is. What a defense for Lucas. It seemed over for him, and he's still there in first. I can't believe he was able to hold that spot. We have some action further back, but let's make sure we don't miss this live. Rowe close again. This is just bumper to bumper. He wants to go around the outside. That is not a gap. That is not somewhere to put the car. Will Ken Huber take advantage of it? No, they're back in line. That was so close between those guys. Further back, we had an incident. I think a wreck for Jeff McDonald may be what spurred all this. At least this was one of the incidents that happened. This was just behind him in fourth, so a strong running just lights up the tires a little bit. We saw that from Doty. Nathan Westland's going to make his way by. Rejoining the racing line, not so great with Jesse Coffey making his way past as well, but lucky to avoid any incident. And then also, Zach Nurnberger got past 2 drivers. Doty with a really deep send on Foreman. It was never going to happen, and with Foreman trying to recover, it looks like the spot was claimed by Nurnberger, but he had to fight it through into Mercedes, but he gets it on the inside. So nice move to take advantage of a double pass opportunity for Nurnberger. Makes his way up to 8th overall. So up 4 from where he started. Still battling all behind. But right now Josh Doty's one of the closest guys. Doty's been fighting with James Foreman this whole time, of course. Made that attempt at a pass on Foreman and ended up just getting both of them passed by Zach Nurnberger, while he still wasn't able to hold that position over Foreman. Take a look too, just seeing that replay again from Doty's point of view. Take the inside, it just never was going to get it slowed down. So smart for Foreman to recognize that, but I think was just didn't have any chance. And yeah, good move on Doty as well. Didn't force himself back onto the track. He wanted to get back on track, of course, but knew that he needed to let any drivers on track get out of the way first. So very clean and respectful driving for Doty after that failed pass attempt, and still has that opportunity to battle for the rest of this race. Oh, Travis Rowe nearly went on the inside. That is not a typical passing opportunity, but he's still battling. He's got him just the nose enough to alter Jack Lucas's line. Lucas didn't necessarily have to defend it too much, but surely it's in his head. Ken Huber, you can't even see his car. He's there. All three cars there, making their way through Nord Curve. We're 20 minutes in this race nearly, and can Travis Rowe actually make a move in the Einfahrt Parabolica? He's going to try. He's moving to the right. He's on the brakes. He can't get it done. Jack Lucas, very oh, and the tap. There was minor collision. Surely it shouldn't have caused both drivers to spin like that. I can't believe that happened to those guys right there. Given the contact that we saw, I mean, sure, there was a minor nudge, but that should have just been a tap and move on. Ken Huber inherits first place. Let's take a look at that incident again. I can't imagine that's what that would have caused. Lucas seemed to have the gap to move across. Wasn't much. I guess drivers them being on the steering wheel is what unfortunately took them both out, as the cars just couldn't handle being on the steering at that point. You see from the gyro cam Travis Rowe's view. It's just so shocking to imagine the car spinning so dramatically in that fashion, and both drivers not just spinning but only halfway and losing so much time rejoining the racetrack. So Rowe now down to 7th, Lucas down to 5th. What an unfortunate set of events for those drivers. They still have time to make it up. I doubt they have any damage to the cars, but a shame to see. James Foreman there almost made a move on Zach Nuremberger in Sachs Curve. Not able to do so. Doty still chasing after him. Oh, and Doty's off. Big wreck to the rear of that car. Loses the bumper, and he's immediately going to be towing to the curves. Are we going to see him for the rest of this race? So see, here was the incident. Just some oversteer. This has been a brutal track for these guys. It's not typically one of the tougher tracks, I would say. So I don't know I don't know if it's the setups or something about the track conditions. I mean, we're at 34 degrees Celsius, which in Fahrenheit is only 93, so not a really high track temperature. I don't know what's causing it, but everybody's having issues. Travis Rowe trying to claim another spot. He was up there in second, almost in first. Can he get a spot on Eric Klaubach? He cannot. Didn't have the run there. Draft not doing him any favors, but might be able to get him on pace. Swings out wide. Looks like he had a little bit more traction there. Man, the back of this field, too, has become really close, and it's not including these drivers. Oh, and Rowe, that was a big dodge that he had to take there, and he's just taking it to the pits. He's just done. there was nothing wrong with the car, but that was a frustrating enough incident. Let's see what happened to him. I don't know if it was just misjudging the braking point. A bizarre incident. Just seemed to get over too far into the grass. But he is there. His car's still there, so may be able to see him rejoin. Langenberg has now finally, after all this time, finally caught up to the field after that early incident. Obviously a fast driver in his own right, but had like 15 seconds to make up to the peloton. Has done so now, trying to get up to Sheldon Rosenbaum. And Rosenbaum close himself with Christopher Craig, who's close with James Foreman ahead. We'll see who's able to make a move here. Rosenbaum's the closest. Can he make a move on Craig? Cannot do so. With Christopher Craig, we did see him have to bow out last race. Still recovering and getting back into full endurance shape. So hopefully we're able to see him stick it out for this whole race. But it might be difficult if it's as tough as it is for the rest of these drivers. And very few have had a fully clean race so far. But Langenberg, nothing that he can do there. couple tenths back. Thought about something maybe into the hairpin. Meanwhile, we haven't touched on it a little bit as the field is spread out in those GTPs. Paul Skip still leading the race. He is now past essentially the entire field, which passed Nathan Westland there too, which Westland and Coffey are two B-class drivers that inherit a lot from those incidents that we just saw. We saw, of course, Jeff McDonald, Jack Lucas, and Travis Rowe all having pretty big incidents. And it means that they're all up 4, now to second and third as B-class drivers. Nathan Westland, if he were able to get the win here today, that would be win number 4. There's 3 drivers tied at 3 wins right now, Foreman, Westland, and Lucas. So that would make him the sole leader. Paul Skip passes Ken Huber. Oh, and we have an incident. Aaron Claybaugh. Not the most useful view. Still don't see the incident, and just a curb, just a big sausage curb there, taking out the car. No, that was maybe not the best decision. Nurnberger getting a bit of a shunt there. I'm shocked he was able to keep that car going. Does he have any damage? Yeah, I mean, Claybaugh's car, of course, rested in a really weird spot, but I think really the best thing to do at that point is just hold the brakes and hope everybody reacts accordingly. So if we see any damage on that Nurnberger car, it's hard to tell. Looks like he's doing all right pace-wise, so the car may be okay. But a really scary moment for sure for those guys. It does look like has he lost positions? I didn't think that he was behind Christopher Craig before, but yeah, that may have happened actually a little bit right before that. Oh, yeah, so that was right after. So the event happened, Christopher Craig and Jeff McDonald making their way through. James Foreman, excuse me, not Jeff McDonald. So he's going to have fight back here. Doesn't seem to have horrible damage, but we have another incident. Actually, Jeff McDonald here. What happened to him? Car seems okay, and another sausage curb, just like we saw from Claybaugh, except a much worse outcome this time, entirely blowing off that front bumper. He's towing to the pits. This has been a brutal race. I thought that it would be worse for the GTPs, given a lot of the practice incidents that we saw, but in reality, it's actually been the GT3s who have struggled to handle it here tonight, and we're starting to lose more and more drivers. Paul Boyle into the pits. That seems like a stop for strategy. Sheldon Rosenbaum getting past Zach Nurnberger. Nurnberger was running higher than this. Does he have damage that's affecting his pace? It is possible. And he can't really pit now. It's a one-pit strategy for these GT3s, and it is too early to do so. So he's got to stick it out for at least another 10 minutes, at the most aggressive 10 minutes more, and possibly up to more like 20. Tyler Langenberg's trying to get that move done. Can't do it this time around. Can't get him on the acceleration. Rosenbaum not really stepping away from Nurnberger here, but and Paul Boyle, he's in the pits, actually not for strategy. It happened around the right time, but through Nord Curve, really bumpy. Seemed like he had the car under control and then went to the left. I don't know if that looks any different through another cam. It looked like he had it. I'm surprised that he lost control there. It looked like if he had just steered onto the track there and avoided the grass, he would have been okay, but staying on that grass, then hitting that different surfaced tarmac, took him into the wall, into the pits. It's now 2 GTPs we've lost, 3 GT3s that we've lost. We're not even half an hour in. This has been really rough. And not just drivers, but really strong drivers as well. Fast guys who are running fast and up at the top, now out of this race. But Langenberg, a driver to have an early incident, luckily with no damage. Trying to gain another spot here on Nurnberger. Can't make a move into Nord Curve, clearly. That would just be suicide to do so. But can he get the acceleration through that kink? I think he might be able to try a move into turn 2. Not going to do anything. So Nurnberger doing what he can to defend here, which is doing well so far. But I don't know if he's got it here. Down to a 10th and a half. More speed for Langenberg. It's going to be a 10th. before they even get around this final part of the kink. Less than a tenth now. He's going to try the inside. Nürnberger shades to the inside. He's going to take the optimal racing line. Can he keep it? He's going to have to fight all the way around the outside here. And yeah, it just was a foregone conclusion. I think that Langenberg's going to... Ooh, actually, Nürnberger with some more speed into the corner. He backs off a little. Okay. I figured it was going to be too difficult to fight it through there. Needed to have some extra pace in that car, and unfortunately, whatever damage he's got is just enough to keep him out of that competitiveness, but Langenberg's got his eyes set on Rosenbaum now, so Langenberg really is only a few seconds away from where he qualified in. Now, of course, if he had not had the incident, some incidents that happened ahead of him may have put him up into second, first place, something like that. But I think he'll be happy to return to his qualifying position if he's able to get these spots over the next, hour left of racing that we've got tonight. Yeah, it looks like all those drivers that we've had towed to the pits, none of them rejoining this race. And Paul Boyles was close enough that could have been done similarly to how Jay Smart did it. Of course, we were well into that the splash and dash kind of range for the GTP, so could have stayed in this race if he so chose and wouldn't have had to pit an extra time. But that pit time or the travel to pits is definitely the brutal weight that you have to make. Rosenbaum is keeping it close with Craig here. Rosenbaum qualified pretty far back compared to how he's normally done. Normally qualifying at the front of the field, but maybe now we're starting to see that race pace come out of this car. Up 4, Craig's up 7. Of course, qualified in 13th. He didn't get a time in at all, so qualified last place with no time. Now up 7 spots. And another driver close to a competitor, Jack Lucas, who had that unfortunate incident in Einsfart. And he's now just a half-tenth back off of Jesse Coffey, down 3 from where he started, which was the overall lead, the overall pole position. And trying to climb back up there. It's going to be a long climb up to Ken Huber, but second place still very possible for him to make even before he gets to the pit stop, depending on what his pit strategy is going to be. Now past half that 30-minute mark. We will keep this action on screen. We'll be right back with you in a few minutes as we watch this battle here for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. See who's able to come out on top. All right, we're back and clearly missed some action. See replay here. Sheldon Rosenbaum making the move on Christopher Craig. Tyler Langenberg nearly making the move on both. Has to go off track. Rosenbaum gets spun, just being on the inside of that. Immediately toes to the pits, quits out of this race. I'm going to be honest, we've had a lot of drivers bowing out of this race with really no damage, or at least being in the strategy call. I mean, it was still a plenty viable race, was just facing backwards. We've seen drivers already. Tyler Langenberg, great example. A driver who's already been backwards in this race with no damage early on in the race. Fell to the absolute back of the field. He is now up to 6th, just one spot down from where he started. Jack Lucas himself up in 1st. He got turned around. And again, I need neither fault from him or Travis Rowe. He was backwards, and he kept in the race, and he's here. He's 1 second back from Jesse Coffey onto the overall podium spot. So, shows if you stick it out, you really can make back a lot of what you lost, especially if other drivers have some incidents, which this race has been full of. Plenty of incidents. But what that does mean helps Zach Nuremberger out a lot. He's back up to 7th place now, after losing a couple spots from that incident earlier in the final corner, ensued curve. Lucas rapidly catching up to Jesse Coffey here in this lap. Starting from last lap, it was about a second halfway through the previous lap, down to less than half a second there at that section. It spans a little bit through here, but he's got to be able to make a move. Of course, he was in 1st, so he has not had to experience passing anybody yet in this race, really. Let's see if he's able to get that done. Yeah, John Kelly, I think, we saw, we didn't see the incident that caused John Kelly to, I think John Kelly just pulled into the pits. It looks like he was just driving until he got past Paul Boyle, and then since he knew Boyle was out of this race and Kelly already had that damage, he came into the pits and just retired of his own accord. So we won't be seeing him anymore. We're down to just 3. That's it. That's the podium. We're down to the podium. Paul Skip, Paletti, Nick Terrell. There is no doubt that any of those 3 are the ones that are going to finish on the podium. In what order, I guess we'll see right now. Not very close to each other, but plenty close right now for Foreman and Langenberg. Langenberg is slowly but surely making his way through this field. If he gets this spot on Foreman, he'd be back to where he qualified in 5th. And he's the 2nd place driver in the GTDA standings, actually 3rd place overall, as James Foreman actually does have more points than him by just 3 points. So this battle is a little bit personal, because Foreman, as a B-class driver, is ahead of all A-class drivers except for Ken Huber. So Langenberg trying to change that here today. Can he get the move done into Mercedes? He's not close enough, I think, to be sending it. He thought about it for 1 second. 1 second. Rejoins the racing line. Maybe just trying to scare James Foreman there a little bit. Tough part about this middle section of the track, not a lot of passing opportunities. This straight is not quite long enough to really make anything happen, especially the difficulty of the corner that you take through Mobile 1. It's not really suitable for passing opportunities. There are passing opportunities through the lap, mostly in that 1st sector. But if you're faster through that middle sector, there's unfortunately not a lot you can usually do. Christopher Craig is in the pits, but this might be for strategy. I really hope we're not losing another car already. He did enter the pits driving, which is a good sign, but not a lot of other drivers have done that. Let's see, Langenberg, can he make the move? He was almost down to 2/10 on Foreman. Still not close enough. Jack Lucas is close to Jesse Coffey, just ahead of these guys, which is the next pair of positions. Oh, it has to avoid, Langenberg does, and he's going to lose some time there. So second half back, he's going to have to claw that back now. Pull away from that. Claybaugh moving out of the way for Jack Lucas and Jesse Coffey's battle. Jesse Coffey a little bit wide through the apex of Spitzkara. Not enough to hinder him, I think, in this battle. We saw obviously a lot closer last lap between Langenberg and Foreman, and still Langenberg wasn't able to make a move into Mercedes. Lucas is trying to make something happen. And be very difficult to get back to his qualifying position as Ken Huber continues to step away from the field. Just really elite pace right now, and we haven't even got to the pit stops yet. But right now, if we just give it a few seconds, it's about to be 10. It's about to be 10 seconds back to second place of Nathan Westland, which Nathan Westland, second place overall, but that's first place for the GTDBs. I think would be his highest overall finish. I mean, it would have to be, at least tied for his best overall finish this season. So that would be a lot of points he brings home. Actually, at the Red Bull Ring, I do think that he finished third overall, so it wouldn't be too far off from a really strong race that he's already had recently. Yeah, just third place right behind Ken Huber and Darren Rutherford on that occasion. But tonight, looking to try to get second would be an improvement on that. And Westland, again, he's got about 20 points back to Kevin Bergquist and Zach Nuremberger. Needs to pull away from those guys. Bergquist, of course, not here tonight and wasn't here at Road Atlanta either. So losing some points here in this championship. Nuremberger trying to claim some more points in this race, but he is, of course, well behind Nathan Westland as it currently stands. But Nathan Westland also, he's about 30 points back from Jesse Coffey and Jack Lucas. He's not going to be gaining a lot on them as it stands currently. We'll have to see. Nicholas Paletti coming into the pits. So this is the first four-strategy pit stop for a guaranteed pole position or a podium sitter on tonight's race for Nicholas Paletti. Came in second as the first guy. Close to making it on a one stop. I wonder if the other drivers are trying to do that. Oh, Langenberg. Langenberg's passed. Langenberg has made his way past James Foreman. It took him long enough right until we stopped watching. Here's how the move is done. Oh, a weird move for Foreman. Almost like Foreman just forgot that the turn was there. But easy enough for Langenberg to slide on through and get that position up to where he qualified in fifth. Another 15-second gap now that he has to try to close down to any drivers in front. Maybe where he finishes. I mean, of course, 45 minutes, still plenty of time to try to close that down if he really has this pace. But considering this is where he qualified, should expect that the drivers ahead are going to be pretty close, or at least to his pace. So 15 seconds is going to be difficult to try to make up. We'll see if he's able to do it tonight. There'll be something to follow in this series. Jack Lucas and Jesse Coffey, if they start to battle, that'll definitely help. It'll slow down everyone in this top group. And Coffey catching up to Nathan Westland as well. So these three may make it a three-way battle, and that would be perfect for Langenberg to try to catch up. Right now, Paletti, who we just saw come into the pits, he's on some fresh tires. He makes his way by. Lucas. Nick Terrell inherits the lead as Paul Skip now himself comes into the pit stops. He gets some fresh tires. Waiting on that fuel to load up in the car. It's a brutally slow pit stop. Not slow compared to the other drivers, just a long wait. You have to wait for that fuel after the tires get done in that car. And he's back out on track. Looks like he is 10 seconds ahead of Nicholas Paletti. So still a safe gap that he's got up in first. Lucas is chasing down Coffey, but Nathan Westland is one of the first guys here pitting for strategy. Christopher Craig, unfortunately, we talked about him pitting earlier. He's still in the pits. So, yeah, I think we may have lost another car here tonight. 5 cars out of this race for the GT3s, 3 cars out of the race for the GTPs, which is half the field. Nearly half the field, too, down in the GT3s. Westland is the first guy to blink, though. And we'll see if this undercut is able to do anything positive for him in that close battle he had with Coffey and Lucas. Because they're not close enough to really be hampering each other, but could that undercut be valuable? Zach Nuremberger also coming in to stop. I don't think he was exceedingly close to a specific driver coming into that. But we're just about to that halfway point now. So all drivers should be confident they'll make it to the end if they pit at this point. follow Lucas, trying to catch up to Jesse Coffey, trying to challenge him for this second place spot, which is maybe for position or a net P3. Hard to tell. But man, this is it's just been really difficult. Lucas has been close. Coffey has not blinked a single time, and we haven't seen any sort of big mistake for him. Maybe a couple quarters where he was a little bit slower out of the apex, but nothing where Lucas is able to pounce and try to make that pass. Are either of them going to stop here? No, they're not. They're both staying out on track. I'm surprised to not see Lucas take a bit of a note from Westland, try to do an undercut on Coffey. I mean, just half a second. That undercut may be enough for you to make that move. And, of course, any other move after the pits, that's got to be done totally on track, which is harder than trying to do it in that strategy. But if they think that the overcut is more valuable, that's what they're going to try to do. James Foreman himself, he comes into the pits, so he's got his stop. And Nick Terrell now comes into the stop for the GTPs. So that looks like Nicholas Paletti. Did he pit a little bit too early? It's hard to tell. He pit on lap 28. Paul Skip on 29. Nick Terrell's taking all the way to this lap. We're now past the halfway point. So clearly you can just make it past halfway. But is that what the other drivers have planned for? Are they planning for a splash and dash? It's hard to tell, especially with Paletti's strategy. I'm not sure if he is anticipating on doing it in one stop. Clearly Nick Terrell is, because he's able to stop well after this halfway point. But he's a full 3 laps later than the other drivers, and may be able to pay out quite well here tonight if that's what he's able to make happen and the other drivers can't. I mean, a whole pit stop does lose you a lot of time, but he's still sitting here in the stops. He's just now on the exit. How much time does he have behind? He's 16 seconds back from Paletti. He's 26 seconds back from Paul Skip. I think that Skip, like if they had to pit right now, I think Skip's still safe, but Paletti might be in a little bit more danger. 17 seconds. I don't know exactly what the pit loss is here at this track. It might be enough for him to worry. This is as close as Jack Lucas has been. Still haven't come into the pits, either of these drivers. And none of the top 4 have. All drivers have pit now at this point at least one time, with the exception of Ken Huber, Jesse Coffey, Jack Lucas, and Tyler Langenberg. So these top 4 still waiting to come in. But these top 3 are the 4 position. This is the net P3 in this race. Lucas really wants to get this done on track. Still just not close enough to make it happen. Aaron Claybaugh back there, not 4 position. Nearly looked like a better exit for Lucas there. Can he capitalize on it? Not quite. Still just 4/10. Something bold has to be attempted, whether it's on strategy or on track. I think for him to get this pass, it's that curb. I mean, both drivers just driving stunning races right now. This is not just the fight for second. This is the fight for maybe the win in B-Class. It's hard to tell where Westland is going to shake out. Westland's now pitting a good amount earlier than these drivers, which should make things a little bit interesting. But the gap is tough to estimate where they're going to come out in relation. They're not really battling, so it's not slowing them down in that sense, which is helpful for them. But are they driving fast enough? Are the tires giving out? Pit stop for Jack Lucas. Jack Lucas maybe a bit of an undercut. Will Jesse Coffey respond on the next lap? And where is Lucas going to come out in regards to Nathan Westland? We're going to stay on board with him because this is what I want to see. Let's see where he comes out. Before the pit stops, he was behind Huber, Coffey, and Westland. Is he going to come out ahead of Westland in that order? And is this undercut going to get him ahead of Jesse Coffey? That in-lap and out-lap are going to be extra important. Not a pit entry that needs a ton of practice, so I don't think a lot of advantage can be gained on other drivers. It pretty much just, instead of taking the racing line, you just pull off. So it's not an entirely tricky one compared to some others, which require a little bit of expertise. Out of the pits for Jack Lucas. He is well behind Nathan Westland. That's Westland flying by at racing speed. He, at the time of pits, was, half a second back? He's now going to deal with Nicholas Paletti making his way through. to top things off. He's now 4 seconds back. Nathan Westland has gained big through that pit strategy. Will Nathan Westland also gain on Jesse Coffey? He was second. He was an overall second place before the pit stop. Will he remain in that spot? We take a look at the total pit time. Pit time for Westland and Lucas was basically identical. It was just the undercut that was benefiting Westland with the new tires to get him where he's at. Ken Huber's coming into the pits. Will Jesse Coffey follow him? Surely we are getting to the point where they absolutely have to come in. Yeah, Coffey's coming in now. Langenberg may follow him as well. But it looked like the undercut worked wonders for Nathan Westland, at least against Jack Lucas. Will it work against Jesse Coffey as well? Will it even cut into Ken Huber's lead a little bit? I have no idea. It was about 10 seconds. Just about 10 seconds when they came in. What's this pit time again? 31.3 for Nathan Westland. Ken Huber, 28.7. 3 seconds faster. Don't know how he does it. He does it somehow. Tyler Langenberg temporarily taking second place as his pit box is further up than Jesse Coffey's. Coffey is a 31.2, so again equal with and Westland's by. Westland's already by. And by a lot. Jesse Coffey's by too, and the gap is it's actually really Jack Lucas is coming up on him. Jack Lucas has the undercut, just one lap of undercut, and he's got the move done. Just one lap, and that's all he needed. Imagine if he had pit a few laps earlier like Nathan Westland did. Now Coffey in the same boat that Lucas was in for many laps before, where he's got to make the move now, but no strategy allowed anymore. It's got to be done on track. So a nice call for Lucas to come in when he did, rather than taking another lap. I mean, who knows? Maybe he was running out of fuel anyway. But Westland comfortably ahead of both of these guys now. Still further back from Ken Huber, of course. But 3.7, almost now 4 seconds down the road from Jack Lucas is a really healthy breathing room as we're nearing the 1 hour mark. Nick Terrell, the third place runner, makes his way by. Again, Nick Terrell, the driver, makes a mistake there on the exit actually, which does affect Lucas. Hopefully he doesn't lose a spot from that. He doesn't look to. But Nick Terrell, the driver, definitely going for a one-stop solution in this race. Now, are Paul Skip and Nicholas Paletti going for one stop? I don't know. The timing of Paletti's stop made it seem like no. Are they able to convert when they stopped into a one-stop? It would be pretty difficult. They're going to have to, if they weren't prepared for it, they're going to have to lose a lot of pace to make that happen. They do have at least some healthy gaps between each other to play with that, but it's interesting just to, we'll have to watch to see how bold these drivers get. Tyler Langenberg did catch up a little through that pit segment to this top four. If you remember, he was 15 seconds back. It's down to 12. He was a faster pit stop as well at 30.6, but probably not making the inroads he needs to, to pressure these guys later in the race. It would be difficult, I would think. It's still possible, especially if he's like Zach Nuremberger there, putting in his fastest lap of the race with a 1:40.16. Not a lot of drivers putting in laps that fast, really. Actually, that was the fastest lap in the GT3 field last time around. So, a good move for him to get to those new tires. And, of course, he got that damage fixed. Whatever he had seemed to definitely affect him to at least some degree from the collision he had in Sud Curve. But car's fresh now. See what he's able to do. 3.5 seconds back to James Foreman. And Foreman, a bit of a unfamiliar situation for him to be sitting off the podium in a race. We have not seen him off the podium in many races so far. He's got 11 podiums out of our 14 races, and it may be 11 out of 15 if he finishes in this fourth place spot. He's a whole 17 seconds back from Jesse Coffey, so it would really require an incident for him to get to that B-class podium, but it's less of a testament to Foreman having a bad race and more a testament to just how strong the B-class drivers are performing. I mean, as you can see, yes, we've had some attrition here in this race. We've already lost 5 guys. But all 5 guys that we've lost in this race are A-class drivers. Every B-class driver in this race is still in it. Of course, a couple have had some incidents, but they've powered through those, and they are now going to be bagging a lot of points, especially these guys who already were running quick up at the front, but now have some less competition. Other than Ken Huber potentially starting another win streak, they are all to their own out here, out in front. Jack Lucas is closing the gap to Nathan Westland. Jesse Coffey's sticking with him, so maybe Westland just losing a little bit of pace. But he had a healthier 4-second gap that is now closed. And he has to worry about that just a little bit, I think. 55 minutes into this race. 38 laps for the GTPs. And traffic has not been something that we've had to mention very much. Of course, not a lot of cars. Very big track. Gigantic track. They're really, even if there were 55 cars on this track, a lot of the sections, other than like right here through this curve, should be easy enough to navigate with multiple class cars. It's a little bit thin through this section in Sox curve, but through the rest of the track, it's obscenely wide. So making their way around is not a difficult ask for these GTPs, but it also doesn't seem to have played as much of a role in the race just because the gaps are so large between them. We have 3, of course, elite drivers in Paul Skip, Nick Plady, Nick Terrell, and they are nowhere near each other. They are 15 seconds apart. They are in totally different areas. They're never even in the same corner at the same time. So the traffic is not as important to really nail. They can lose some, they can gain some. They don't have to try to slip in between a bunch of cars. The gaps in the GT3s are starting to increase as well. As you can see out there, we have, that 14-second gap from Westland to Huber in the lead. 12 seconds from Tyler Langenberg from 5th to 4th. And back Aaron Claybaugh's 42 seconds back from Zach Nuremberger in 7th. But again, Claybaugh, 42 seconds back. Still in 8th place, though. 2 spots up from where he qualified. Will get good points. And actually a podium, believe it or not. We've only got 3 of the GTPs. We've also only got 3 GT3A guys left. So maybe a Claybaugh will feel a little bit downtrodden from his performance today. He's had to have a couple incidents and pitted on lap 14. So was a pretty early pit stop as well, and I don't know if he's going to be able to, he won't be able to make it to the end like the rest of the GT3s, so he's going to lose out some more, but nonetheless, he's going to be the podium. He's going to be on the podium, so Ken Huber's going to be first with Tyler Langenberg second, Aaron Claybaugh third, unless something dramatic happens to that order. But what a weird race that we've had here today. We've had a lot tougher tracks on the season that have caused a lot less percentage of just total carnage and attrition as we've had here tonight. Yeah, and Christopher Craig saying here in the Discord, getting better. Knee still not good enough for him to do these long races, so no shame for him pulling out of this race. But 9th place, with all the incidents and stuff, probably won't be too upset with that. Wasn't able to qualify, so automatically was going to be making up some spots early. But 9th place, I think he'll be happy with the points coming from that. Jesse Coffey staying about that same 8, 9, 10th gap to Jack Lucas, and they're both still continuing to catch up to Nathan Westland. Interesting to see when this kind of sets off. It's been close to dipping under 2 seconds for that gap between Westland and Lucas. I don't think Lucas is having to defend. He's not driving super defensively. He's able to get that move done off that just 1 lap undercut. Goes to show what these drivers are doing to the tires in these stints, that the new tires immediately helped them so much, even if they weren't quite up to temperature. Obviously was a lot faster. Braving some off track there for Lucas out in front. Lost a little bit of time to Coffey through Mobile 1 curve, but it's just now down to under half a second. But I don't think he's going to be able to do anything down the main straight. And Paul Skip's going to be coming up to him as well. Skip having a quiet race. And he's blinking out as well. Are we going to lose Paul Skip from a connection? Right when I look at him there, he's disappeared. He's showing his off on my timing tower, but he's not losing a spot yet, although he will. Oh my goodness. If we've lost Paul Skip from a disconnect, that is just a shame. Okay, he's back. He still may have a dodgy connection here that may cause him some issues, but that would have just been the cherry on top of quite a ridiculous race of loss. So still going here, still in first place, still a 15-second gap behind, but is he going to have some connection issues later? Remains to be seen. 1 hour into this race, we've got 30 minutes left. We take one more break and get back to you with the final bits of action in this race. Be back in just a few minutes. All right, we're back, and that battle up at front still looking about like it was before, except Jesse Coffey falling back over the last few laps. Now 2.3 seconds separating Lucas and Coffey as Lucas catches up a bit to Nathan Westland, 1.5 seconds. We'll keep an eye on that. Right now, the closest battle is Nuremberger, still trying to claim this 6th place spot from James Foreman. This is the battle for 4th in GTB right now, 6th place overall in the race. Not quite up to the podium positions, and time-wise, well off of the podium position. So this is the spot that these guys want to fight for. But again, coming into tonight, Zach Nuremberger had a close battle with Kevin Berquist. Nope, Kevin Berquist not being here, of course, he's going to gain that spot on him. All the drivers above him in the overall standings, Westland, Lucas, Coffey, Foreman, they're all ahead of him on the track right now. So it's the best drivers still showing out here tonight, as all of 5 of our top 6 in the overall standings for GTDB are here, with Kevin Berquist being the only exclusion. Paul Skip makes his way by as the gap expands a little bit between these two drivers. Can Nuremberger finally get Foreman in any of these corners with that fresh car? Was battling him earlier in the race before that incident happened, so he has the pace to keep up. Clearly has the pace to pass. He was able to get by when Doty had attempted that pass into the hairpin of Spitzkara and was not able to make it get that car slowed down. Nuremberger slid through on the inside past both guys. He's not going to be able to have that opportunity today, but only a quarter second. Much stronger exit through Spitzkara. Is he going to make a move? As they head into Mercedes, he's close enough, a 1/10. Surely he's got to try to think about something on the inside. He pulls to the left. He's not going to make it happen. And he makes him go deep. He makes him go deep. They're side by side. He's got the outside. He's going to claim the position as he heads through that curve. Now in the Mobile 1 curve, he is going to have sole possession, of that 6th place spot. Wonderful move for Nuremberger. Let's take a look at that move again. Textbook move made Foreman go a little defensive. Foreman just going a little bit deep after as a response. I will say one thing that we missed, which is strange because it's not showing up as like really being reflected in the timing for the GTPs. But we did have this happen during that break as well. Oh, this was they qualified this as a crash. the long amount of time Paul Skip was not being shown on screen. There was an off track for Claybaugh. He had a dramatic one. 15 seconds lost from this incident here. He just barely, really didn't ask for it that much. It seemed to go about as wide as any of the other drivers did. Car snapping out of control on him. The BMW definitely has been harder to control as of late than some of the previous seasons. Of course, it's still working well for Jesse Coffey, who's currently in 4th overall. But that's it. There's no other drivers operating the BMW here today. It used to be such a popular car, and it just seems to be difficult for a lot of these guys now. Ooh, and I guess not to dogpile on Claybaugh, also just had this incident too. This is where Paul Skip was making his way by. They're in Sox Curve. Is it going to be in the sausage? It's not, just a car just stepping out on him before even getting to that sausage curb. It's looking like a difficult drive out there, but that is for the podium sitter. He's going to be on that podium spot regardless of what happens, so can't be too upset with that result tonight. Again, in the GTDA standings, Aaron Claybaugh came into the race in 5th. And Travis Rowe, Josh Doty, Tyler Langenberg, Ken Huber. 2 of those names out of this race. All drivers here at this race, but we have lost both Doty and Travis Rowe, and they were the 2 first guys out too. So 13th, 12th. Aaron Claybaugh going to get some good points on him, as well as, I guess maybe could get some safety points depending on how much the incidents have racked up his incident point total. Can't check during the race, but we'll see afterwards. James Foreman keeping this battle interesting as we're closing in on 15 minutes remaining in this race. Not a lot of time left for stuff to happen. we're still keeping an eye on that GTP situation. Do Nick Paletti and Paul Skip need to come in for another pit stop or not? They pit a whole 3 and 2 laps earlier than Nick Terrell. Nick Terrell, the only driver to make it past the halfway point in that first stint. Obviously, Skip, if both Paletti and Skip were not planning on a one stop, Skip is obviously in the better position, not only for being first place, but also being 1 lap later. Might be able to make it happen. But are they doing some fuel saving anyway? I mean, Skip on that last lap, I don't know. I mean, he made his way past some traffic, but it was a 28.54. His best lap is a 26.79. So an entire almost 2 seconds slower than his fastest lap on tires that are, I mean, they're old, but they're not like ancient. So I have to think that there's some fuel saving going on there. All 3 GTPs running over 128s. So I think that might be a clue as to the strategy shift maybe for Skip and Paletti there, but also definitely the strategy that Nick Terrell was going for the entire time. A 129.56 for him on that lap as well. Lucas he's just now closing to that 1 second mark for Nathan Westland. This is the win for GTDB. And these guys are on the season. They're tied with 3 wins apiece, and Lucas has got a lot of his wins lately. Of course, he's got 2 in a row. And Nathan Westland earning a lot of his wins in that first half of the season. Still has been strong since that point. But interested to see. Let's see how this all pans out. And if we also look at the fastest lap for the GTDB field right now is Jack Lucas. That would be another fastest lap for him, where he's been able to get one in Sebring, Coda, Imola, Red Bull Ring, and Road Atlanta. So adding a 6th fastest lap here tonight. I think the most prolific fastest lap driver in the GTDB field. Despite Nathan Westland's 3 wins and 3 pole positions, as well as 5 podiums, he's only got the 1 fastest lap to his name on this season, and that was back in round 4 at Okayama. Making their way through is Nicholas Paletti. Terrell's last lap, a 28.4, so looked like that 29 lap was a bit off pace. And yeah, the driver's just not anywhere close to as fast as they could go in the start of the race. Paul Skip, Paletti especially. Nick Terrell's fastest lap, a whole second off, but I think, again, he's been doing the fuel saving since the very start. Will Skip and Paletti, can they even fuel save enough to make up for those 2 laps, 2 or 3 laps in Paletti's case? Should be possible. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy. Right now, Lucas is finding it difficult to catch up to Nathan Westland. Was under a second, and it was looking like he was going to be able to start putting some pressure on. Now it's back to 1.6 as he needs to make up some more time on that race leader of Nathan Westland. Westland would be getting a lot of points here, and he's kind of in a no man's land. Like I said before, he's 30 points off from the group in front, 20 points behind. Would help him catch up, and again, missed 2 of the last 3 races, both Twin Ring and Imola. So was in a better position a few weeks ago before those 2 misses, and needs to have really solid races because he's got 3 missed races. And those are all covered by drop weeks as it is currently. There will be a 4th drop week that gets implemented. I think Aaron Claiborne maybe insinuated it would happen as early as after this week. Will happen before the season ends at least, so that we have a better idea of really how the standings are coming into the final races. But Westland can't afford to have a lot of bad races with those missed weeks. Because you look at some of the other competitors ahead of him, especially, and James Foreman leading that GTDB field strongly, and he's only missed 1 race, so that helps because he can have bad races off of the books. His lowest 2 scores of only 26 points at Daytona and Sebring individually get removed, and he had the opportunity. So it's nice to have a bad race off the books, and furthermore, he's got safety points from those races too. He's got 7 points that a driver who doesn't show up to race is obviously never going to be able to earn. But Nick Terrell makes his way past this pair. Another incident for Aaron Claybaugh. Jumping to the pits. We'll see if this maybe was enough damage to require that pit stop. Another strange incident, one that we just really haven't seen. Immediate tow to the pits. May not even see him finish this race. Doesn't matter. On the pole position, on the podium spot regardless. But yeah, still getting up to speed with some new equipment, I know, in Claybaugh's situation. So hopefully wrinkles get ironed out. But again, sticking out for this race has really paid off points-wise for him. Lucas just, there we go, breaks into that 1 second mark again. So he's caught up a lot over these last two sectors. Westland slower by about half a second since Sector 2 last lap. More than that, 6 or 7 tenths since Sector 2 of last lap. And the gap is very slowly coming down in the Parabolica. Who's going to nail it into the braking zone? Lucas, much faster on the entry. Does he have the exit? He does. He's got the gap closed down to 7 tenths now. So faster through that section as well. Might this start to get interesting? We're down to almost 10 minutes remaining. Lucas has a lot of laps to make it happen. Few opportunities that he's going to be able to have, but you got to, again, like we've already seen in this race, you really got to set up a pass. We saw the latest pass, Zach Nuremberger getting around James Foreman. We saw him set that up in the Mercedes. It was a really strong move where forcing Foreman to go defensive made him make a bit of a minor mistake and was able to sail on by. It's a textbook way to get around, and Lucas, of course, didn't get to see that, so does not know exactly what happened for Nuremberger there, but maybe he'll try something similar. 6 tenths now. Was able to stay close through Sector 3. That's what he was not able to do on the last lap. Lost time to Westland in Sector 3 last lap. This time, faster in all 3 sectors of that lap, especially in that middle part of the track. Again, middle part of the track, not really any passing opportunities, but it does help you stay close for these passing opportunities at the start of the lap. Through Sector 1, Westland again 2 tenths slower. 4 tenths now is the gap. This is closing quickly. We've just now crossed the 10-minute mark, and it's down to 3 tenths. Can he do anything to defend here as they go into the hairpin? He's going to be able to at least stay ahead here. Gap expands into the braking zone. Lucas not comfortable. Actually, if he had had just a little bit more room, he could have really hammered on the gas. He had a much stronger exit through there. Couldn't capitalize. Might rethink his racing line through there next time around. He's got time to decide this. And with 1.5 laps, we've still got probably 6 or 7 laps to go in this race, depending on when that white flag drops. So Lucas has a lot of opportunities here. Can he draw something up to make an easy pass? Can Nathan Westland keep that car behind? We've seen him with really stout defense all the way back to the start of this season. Races such as Willow Springs, I remember, was one where he was defending the entire race, and he's going to look to have to do that here for the final 10 minutes. Much better exit for Lucas. Lucas is already going to be side-by-side into Nord Curve. Are they actually going to be battling into the kink? They are. They're side-by-side. It swings around the outside for Nathan Westland. Can he keep control? He does. Lucas putting his car where Westland was allowing him to put it, but not trying to do anything too dangerous at this point. Maybe would have been better served to just trailing behind, because this could have been the golden opportunity if he just stayed behind him through Nord Curve and maybe shot up the inside there on Einfahrt, or able to stay close here through Parabolica and Spitzkara, where we've seen him be strong already in the last lap, but there's still plenty of laps to think that over. I think he has the pace to still try to attempt it. He does. Much stronger. Is he going to do a different line? He goes a little bit more outside, still gets a little hampered by where Nathan Westland's car is. I think Lucas might attempt something where he takes a bit of a straighter braking line next time around and is able to swing around to the right side of the track immediately on that apex and try to get some acceleration on him. We'll see if that actually happens, or if that's even fast enough to make that pass happen. But it does look like he's got the superior pace right now. Doesn't mean everything. You can't just pass just because you're faster. There's a lot more that goes into it than that. And Lucas is definitely learning, experiencing that currently. Does seem like he's got the pace, but getting by. It's just another ball game. And Westland is a strong defender. We've seen him already display that this season. Hasn't had to do a ton of defending in this race, all things considered. Moved up a couple spots early, was able to benefit from some incidents that put him into second place overall. With the undercut, was able to give himself a healthy gap, which now has proven to be really important to have. But that undercut, what that does mean, the flip side of the coin, of course, is that his tires are a good amount older than Jack Lucas's. Whatever abuse that Lucas is putting through his tires, Westland's put another 4 or 5 laps on. I'll check the exact numbers. 3 laps. Guess I exaggerated there. But lap 29 for the pit stop for Lucas, 26 for Westland. What line does Lucas take here? Skip's coming up. Hopefully he doesn't interfere with this. Of course, Skip may be a little bit worried about the fuel, but won't be too upset to just coast behind, I think. Gets by him. And Westland taking the exit there better than he has over the last few laps. That is one of the risks, of course, to setting up a pass along for a long time, is any sort of perceived weakness you see from a car in front. They may get that sorted out in that time. They may know that's where they're vulnerable and really start to lock in and nail those sectors. And it looked like he nailed Spitzkara there, making it a lot more difficult for Lucas to envision a pass in the most popular passing opportunity on this track. Again, Jesse Coffey not a threat behind currently, 5.5 seconds back. So this is it. It is definitely between these two. Coffey's still going to comfortably finish on the podium as he's 26 seconds ahead of Zach Nurnberger. Doing a bit of a correction on the tires. Of course, Nathan Westland getting a little bit in the dirt, causing the wipers to run for Lucas, which next season those wipers are going to run a lot more as we have some rainy races on the schedule as we're testing out that weather system. So excited to see that. Some other changes to the format for Endurance for Amateurs, but we still have another 5 races on this season, if I'm not mistaken. Following night, Spa, Barcelona, Interlagos, Le Mans, and Watkins Glen. 5 more races for these guys to duke it out, but right now we're duking it out for first. This is first overall. Nick Terrell. Oh, Nicholas Plady goes in for the pits, and Jack Lucas goes on the inside. He sends it on the inside. Does he have the acceleration now? They're going to be side by side. Now heading into the right-hand turn. If Nathan Westland still has some drive, he's going to be benefited because he's going to be able to be on the left side. He is defending it. He's on the inside of this corner. Lucas can't go anywhere but the outside. Can he get it stopped without going too far? We saw Foreman go deep there. He doesn't. What a defense for Nathan Westland. He was dead to rights in that hairpin and still comes out on top. This has been so frustrating for Jack Lucas, but this is a battle for victory that Nathan Westland is taking so seriously. There's still more laps to go, though. He succeeded in that defense. He's still got more defense to do. Nicholas Paletti pits, and Paul Skip now pitting as well. Nick Terrell's already by Paletti, but only by 7.8 seconds. If Nick Terrell doesn't have to slow down too much to finish, which he shouldn't because his second stint is shorter than his first stint, he may be able to steal a second-place spot from the second-place driver right now in the standings of Nicholas Paletti. Paul Skip will come out ahead of Nick Terrell, and he's going to have plenty fresh. He's not going to have to worry about fuel at all. He gets to just gun it to the end. So Skip will be safe in first place, but Nick Terrell has stolen second from Nicholas Paletti as it stands, and this is it's actually expanding. Nicholas Paletti is losing a bunch of time. I don't know. I think the timing board just taking a second to adjust to the value. It's all over the place. Hard to trust timing. You can see on the map, Paletti and Terrell, they're a few corners apart, but really strong strategy decision for Nick Terrell. He went the one stop when the other drivers weren't able to, and it has stymied Nicholas Paletti's attempt to lose a little bit less to Paul Skip ahead. Again, was just 1 point back, so if he had some more safety points and just was only one position back, he could potentially get to that first place spot. Now being in third is going to be a lot more difficult. I don't know what the safety point situation looks like for these guys. I know Terrell's always mindful of it, but he may have really nailed the strategy here today after an unfortunate last week that was out of his control. Up at the front, though, still, for this GTDB, Ken Huber is going to win the overall race. He's going to win it by a lot. But Nathan Westland does not have the win sealed yet today. Didn't have to defend, really, much on this lap. Of course, Luke is still close, but not trying to make any attempt as a pass. It looks like there's probably going to be just 2 more laps to go. Maybe more than that. It's hard to tell. They do have Paul Skip in front of them. Coming through Nord Curve, both drivers keeping it under control. A little bit more pace for Lucas as he catches up about a half a tenth through that section. Yeah, through the entirety of that last lap, Westland was matching Lucas for the most part. He was losing a little bit of time, but and again there, Sector 1 only losing 400. So he is, but I don't know if he's got the if he's going to be able to defend here. There's a lot of overspeed for Jack Lucas into the best passing opportunity of the track. He's been strong here so far. He's going to take the inside this time. He's done the outside. It didn't work for him. Can he make the inside happen? Oh, what an aggressive defense for Nathan Westland. Pinched him to the inside. He's got a nose ahead. He's going to have that inside again, which is what stopped Lucas's attempt last time. Sends it around the outside. Don't touch, giving each other room. This is wonderful racing. Nick Terrell's going to watch from behind, and Nathan Westland defends the position again. He's still in first place, second overall. I cannot believe how wonderful these guys are racing each other. This is really hard racing, but ultimately extra fair. Ooh, it's scary there. If it was a little bit later for Terrell, that was going to really affect Weston on the entry there. And they should be coming up to, the white flag. Skip just crossed the line with 40 seconds remaining. This is it. The best opportunity has been that hairpin. Can Jack Lucas finally make it happen? He's had 2 times where he's been side by side. One time he was even a nose ahead, but he just did. Oh, and a little bit wide for Nathan Westland. He's going to be able to recover some of that lost momentum as they head through Nord Curve, but it is down to 3.5 tenths. Close between the two. Now they're heading into Einfahrt. Parabolica. No move being made here, but this is the turn that Jack Lucas needs to nail. Nathan Westland needs to nail to keep his spot. A bit of a slide, but more speed still. Lucas's fresher tires. Can they get him the win here today? This is the final lap. Paletti's out of the way. 1/10 between the two. He's going to take the inside again. Westland had a tough but really fair defense. The cars of Nicholas Paletti a little bit in the way. Around the outside, Lucas, this is as good of a position as he's had. They are literally side by side, separated by just a couple thousandths on the outside still for Westland. He's going to swing it around the outside. Lucas a nose ahead, but he has to give the room on the inside for Westland. Westland on the brakes. They're going to tap a bit of the door knock. It's okay. It's okay in these GT3s. But up the inside is Jack Lucas. Lucas has taken the spot. I don't think Nathan Westland has the opportunity to take it back. As they're going to head into Mobile 1 curve, Jack Lucas solidly ahead on the final lap. He has taken the lead. Paul Skip crosses the line. He's the winner of the GTPs. Ken Huber crossed the line as the winner of the GT3s. We have to make sure nothing happens here at the end of this race. But I think Jack Lucas has finally made the pass happen. I cannot believe that he has made his way not just back up to this position, but finally got around that difficult defense from Nathan Westland. Nathan Westland, an absolutely stellar drive. Unfortunate to lose that spot at the end, but what a show they put on here at the end of tonight's race. Jesse Coffey comes across on the podium again in third for GTDB. Tyler Langenberg, after the early incident, finishing all the way up in 5th overall. Second place for the GTDAs. Got to rack up another podium for him. Come through the last few guys. Crossing the line, Zach Nuremberger flies around the final corner. And he's going to finish just outside the podium on 4th place. Few more guys on track. James Foreman, Aaron Claybaugh, last guys to be crossing the line here. Foreman struggling here on this last lap. Hopefully he doesn't have any safety points. that are up for grabs because it looked like he went off track there. Yeah, going pretty slow. Maybe out of fuel even. Aaron Claybaugh, and he's having oh man, unfortunate incident on the final lap here. And of course, right when the camera switches to him, I apologize for the commentator curse for Aaron there, but coming across podium regardless, third place for the GTDAs. So much attrition, but Claybaugh sticking it out, and look what that's earned him here today. And James Foreman, who I think maybe is struggling with some fuel, he finally crosses the line here, and that's all of our drivers. Let us get to the official results for tonight. In your race tonight, Paul Skip with another win on the season. That is win number 7 in what is the championship leader's attempt to get another championship under his belt. Nick Terrell, with a strong one-stop strategy, comes in second place ahead of Nick Paletti in third. John Kelly, Paul Boyle, and Jay Smart all not finishing this race in 4th, 5th, and 6th. Behind them, the GTDs. Winner overall, Ken Huber, after losing his 12th race win streak, gets another win here today, just 1 week off. Jack Lucas claims the victory for 3 in a row in GTDB on the final lap from Nathan Westland. Jesse Coffey finishes on the podium as well. Tyler Langenberg in second for GTDA. Zach Nurnberger and James Foreman. Aaron Claybaugh is third for the GTDAs. Gets a podium there, which for him, I believe, first podium on the season for Aaron Claybaugh. And behind them, the drivers not finishing today, Christopher Craig, Sheldon Rosenbaum, Jeff McDonald, Travis Rowe, and Josh Doty. All right, let us see who we got ready for an interview. We got Ken Huber. He's back. Bring him in the booth. Ken, you got me in the booth here.
Hey, Zach. How's it going tonight?
It's going good. It was, of course, last week. We didn't hear from you. It was the first race since Daytona that you didn't get a win. You still got that podium, which you were able to earn late. This time, another 22nd, pretty dominant win over the next GTD A driver was 30 seconds. Of course, didn't qualify on pole. Saw some incidents happen out in front of you. What was your strategy during the first part of this race?
Well, I got to say, first of all, Jack Lucas, hats off to him. He got on the pole and was leading that race. And you guys need to kick him out of the B class and kick him up to A. So he doesn't belong in that class, I'm starting to realize. So that's the first thing I'll say. But no, him and Travis out-qualified me, and I didn't really have a good handle on the track tonight anyway. So I figured I'd just tuck in behind him and maybe watch a mistake or two if they did it. And sure enough, that happened. And unfortunate for Jack and both those guys, actually. And I almost got caught up in that. I was full on lockup. I think I came to about a complete stop there in the middle of the track. So I got pretty lucky myself. But sometimes that's the way it works out.
This was obviously you were able to handle the track well. But this was probably the most attrition that we've seen from any race this entire season. And I wouldn't generally list it up there with like being a really difficult track. What was so tough on the track tonight? It seemed like both classes were really struggling.
Well, you got a couple of things going on here. I think, with the weather, the 4 times the weather, that, every time the clouds are coming or the sun comes back out, what happens is the corner will drastically change. So, and we're running these high downforce setups, which is another issue. And these high downforce setups, I think that makes it really hard to pass. And that's kind of probably what you've seen a lot tonight with like Jack Lucas and myself and Travis Rowe and all those guys just running nose to tail but can't get around anybody. And it's basically those high downforce setups. But between that and the weather, and if you're overdriving the car and the tires get hot, that's another thing about this track is it seems like it's pretty tire hungry too. So you got to be careful and be gentle with it. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to get away with the 0X tonight. I did, but it's tough to do. That's for sure.
Well, we're back to another extremely popular track next week, Spa. Of course, one that plenty of people probably have experience on. You have the 24-hour Spa as well as many other races. What are you looking forward to with next week and that being a big circuit?
Yeah, it's Spa. I guess we'll see what comes. I've ran there many times myself. So these guys, I will say, Zach, that I don't know. They turned it on the last few races this season, and it's like now I got my hands full, but I don't know where they were all season. So I imagine I'll have my hands full again at Spa. But yeah, we'll see what happens, I guess.
Well,
Eh,
congratulations on that win again tonight. Win number 13 out of 15. An incredible run you've had in this season, and we hope to hear from you again next week.
all right, thanks, Zach.
Have a good
You
night,
have a
Ken.
good night.
That was our race winner, Ken Huber. Now we have Jack Lucas, our GTDB winner. We're going to bring him into the booth here. Jack, you got me in the booth.
Hey, Zach.
Well, that was a race of up and down for you. You qualified on pole as a B-class driver, which I know we've had some A-class driver or B-class drivers win the over race. I don't know if we've ever had a B-class driver get an overall pole. So already you might have set a record there. But had a great start to the race. Some extremely minor contact between you and Travis Rowe somehow sent both of you guys spinning in that Einfahrt Parabolica. And then you still fought back to then in the final lap claim that B class win. You know what were your emotions like in this race?
Yeah, I mean, like at the start, I was feeling okay at first, but Travis Rowe was right on me, and I was pushing a little too hard, kind of cooked my tires, and yeah, before he crashed into me, or I mean, it was probably both of our faults there. Honestly, I think I went a little deep, but yeah, I mean, I was getting squirrely, kind of all over the place. So yeah, but then after that, I just kind of I was a little mad. I had a little vengeance in me, so I just pushed pretty much as hard as I could, and yeah, I don't know. That was a really good battle with Nate at the end there. That was a lot of fun. He was nice and respectful, and I hope that was a good show on the broadcast.
Yeah, we caught the whole thing. It was really fun to watch. You know, you had that undercut, which was able to, you had the undercut that was able to get you past Jesse Coffey. Of course, you were battling really hard with that. You were able to get that spot there, but you had to get that pass on Nathan Westland on track. Now, he had undercut both of you guys by a good amount. You know, do you think that was really what was the big difference in those last few laps? Was the few laps newer tires that you had on him?
Yeah, it might have been. I mean, getting the undercut done on Jesse was definitely important, because if I had stayed like a second further back, I don't know if I even would have caught on Westland. So yeah, I don't know. That definitely could have been a part of it. But at the end, I think both mine and Nate's tires were totally cooked, and we were just on the very edge.
Well, it was definitely a tire wear race that we had here tonight. And I don't think next week is going to be too dissimilar from that. We're going to Spa, another track with a lot of high speed turns, ones that could really beat on those tires. What are you expecting from next week? It's obviously a popular track that a lot of people have experience with.
Yeah, in my experience, that's definitely not one of my stronger tracks, and it's super long, a lot of stuff to really get down. So I would not expect to qualify pole again, but I wasn't expecting to qualify pole tonight either. So I don't know, see what happens.
Well, congratulations on that comeback here tonight to get up to first again. That's the 3 wins in a row for that B class. So congratulations on this really strong run of performances, and maybe we'll hear from you again next week at Spa.
Yeah, sounds good. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Jack. And that was our GTDB winner, Jack Lucas. Do not have Paul Skip in the booth here tonight, so congratulations to him on that win again, as he continues to, I guess, safety points pending, does continue to pull away on that narrow lead that he's got on the 2 Nicks. But as we continue, next week, same time at Spa for Endurance for Amateurs. If you're here for that, you'll see us here. And everyone, have a good night.